Hello everybody, welcome back to the Spoked Wheel YouTube channel. Today we are back with episode 8 of the Andy Schleck Pro Cyclist series. And today we will be playing stages 3 and 4 of the Circuit de Ardennes International stage race. Last time out we played stages 1 and 2. If you've missed it or you need a quick reminder, we finished 10th in that first stage and then 27th in the second. Which means that we are still relatively high up there on the general classification. I forget where we were exactly, but I think it was around 14th or 15th. And we're within striking distance of getting up into that top 10 and replicating real-life Andy Schleck's result in this race in his first pro season as a cyclist, which of course was 7th on GC for him. So I remember it being the case that stage 3, we decided at the end of the last video that stage 3 was probably going to be the most decisive GC stage in terms of there being potential to gain some time on a climb leading up to the finish. So we're gonna go ahead and get right into the racing, and we're starting off with that stage 3 that I think will be very important in terms of how this race ends up finishing. So we're going to try and do our best and hopefully get up there into the top 10 on GC. Here we are at the start of stage 3, and not surprising that we get the role of leader, since that's what we've had every stage so far in this race. Once again, they want us to do the same top 3 on GC and top 3 in the stage. Again, I think that's kind of a little ambitious, but like last video, we will do our best to try and do that. So we are indeed 14th on GC, so I was remembering correctly. But the thing that actually stands out to me is that we are currently 2nd in the Best Young Riders classification. And we are on the same time as the rider leading that classification. So that would be great if we could end up winning that jersey, actually. I think it would get us a good amount of extra XP points, and our team would be happy with us if we could get that done. So that's something to keep an eye out to try and make happen. So this stage is pretty short. Already there's just about 72 kilometers to go, but I think these first couple of climbs, not a lot will end up happening, and then it's all really going to be decided on that final climb up to the line there. So we're just going to do our best to stay in a good position, and try and, I guess, stay in the wheels of the favorites to try and just get the best result that we possibly can on the stage, which then will hopefully elevate us up in the GC as well. Just to give you a quick little update now that we're inside of 45 kilometers to go on this very short stage 3. We are currently in a peloton of 117 riders. Whatever breakaway there was towards the start of the stage has been wiped out, which makes sense just because of how short the stage is. The teams didn't want to give any riders looking to be in the breakaway too much of a leash. Things actually split up a fair amount over these 3 climbs, the Cat 2, the Cat 1, and then the second Cat 2. But as you can see, things have pretty much all come back together. There are a few riders off the back, but the majority of the field has come back together into this peloton. So like I said at the start, I think it's just going to be very important to stay up at the front and make sure we're in a really good position heading into the base of this final climb. I want to be right up at the front as we go on to that climb, because once the climb has started, I think it's going to be very difficult to make up positions and actually gain ground back on the riders who are going for the stage victory. So yeah, not sure whether or not we'll be in with a chance of winning the stage, but I think we can get a good result if we make sure that we're in a good position going into the foot of the climb. We are getting down to business here in stage 3, just outside of 15 kilometers to go, I guess. I think that may have just been a dress rehearsal for the finish, but I'm not sure. There was a sign on the side of the road that said 1 kilometer to go, so that made me think that maybe that was actually the finish line. But we are just going up over this final climb here, this final categorized climb at least, which B&B Hotels are riding it pretty hard. Not entirely sure who they're working for. Probably Tom Yelter-Slachter, Pim Lichtart, another big favorite, Jonathan Yver as well, and who knows, maybe even a sprinter could put themselves in a position to do well on this finish. If that was indeed the finish that we went over just before that Cat 3 climb, it was not really all that steep, which I guess matches up with the orangish yellow, I guess, color for the finishing climb. So I think that will mean that positioning is going to be even more important, because it's not like there's going to be incredibly steep gradients to make a real difference on. So like I said, we're going to use our teammate here, Rakita, to try and put ourselves in the best possible position, and see if we can't get a decent result for ourselves here inside of 2 kilometers to go. Yeah, here we go. So it is going to be the same climb again, or under 1 kilometer to go, and yeah, that was not even really a climb. That was basically a sprint. So not really the type of terrain that we need to be able to make a difference with Andy Schleck, but we will grab another nice 10th place finish on the stage. Pim Lichtart takes the stage win. I don't remember if that's his first of this race, but I know he's been up there before in contention. Yeah, so a little disappointing, but it just wasn't really the type of finish we need to make a big difference. So let's see what that does for our GC positioning. I think our team is once again going to be disappointed with us because we didn't get top 3 on the stage or on GC, but so far it just really hasn't been the type of race where it's fair to expect that, I think. So we've done the best we can. 2 10th place finishes, not too bad. We're now up into 12th on GC, and we are on the same time as the 9th place rider, which is Tom Yelter-Slachter. So I would say there's still a chance that we could jump up into the top 10 on GC. We're still only 2 seconds back of 7th place and 3 seconds back of 6th place, and even just 4 seconds back of 3rd place. So the opportunity is there, but I'm not sure that this next stage is really going to be conducive for us as a climber moving up. But they are happy with our position in the Best Young Riders classification. So apparently we have gone up into 1st in that category provisionally. So that's great. That would be great if we could win that jersey when it's all said and done. But yeah, let's get right into the 4th stage and wrap up this little stage race. Alright, so we're now underway in the 4th and final stage of this stage race. Once again, we have the same race strategy / instructions from our team, where we're the leader and they want us to finish top 3 in both the stage and the GC. As you can see, we're decked out in the Best Young Riders jersey. It's actually a very nice looking pink jersey rather than a white jersey, so that's pretty cool. I believe this is the first time in this playthrough that we have worn the Best Young Riders jersey in a stage race, so that's a nice accomplishment to have, and hopefully we're going to be able to defend it and win it when it's all said and done. So as you can see from the stage profile here, there is some climbing to be done. 3 different Cat 1 climbs and 2 Cat 3s for good measure, but it's a very flat finish. It's not a GC day, would be the short way of putting it. So probably not a real chance for us to move up in the standings. The one potential option that we have is if the race is all together at this point, at the second sprint point, we could try and grab a few bonus seconds just to see if we could move up and get into that top 10. But that will be sort of a game time decision, I guess, depending on how the race situation has unfolded when we're there, essentially. And I think I just missed out on 1 bonus second at that that first sprint point because there's only 2 riders ahead of the peloton. So could have grabbed an extra second there, but I wasn't paying attention, so that's my bad. But hopefully we'll be able to grab a few seconds here at the second point. But if not, it is what it is, and hopefully we'll still be able to secure the Best Young Riders jersey either way. Alright, we're inside of 5 kilometers to go to this second sprint point. Everything at the front is more or less all together, so we're going to have a chance to try and sprint for these bonus seconds and pick up a few seconds. The problem is we really can't sprint. We have a 57 sprint rating, plus 1 on the day brings it up to 58. So we're just going to do our best here, get a nice lead out from our teammate, and hopefully we can grab a few seconds. Alright, so looks like we crossed the line first there, which should in theory give us 3 bonus seconds. So who knows, maybe it won't actually do anything, maybe it will be enough to move us up a couple places, but worth a shot either way. We'll just have to wait and see how it impacts the standings once the stage finishes up, which is less than 15 kilometers from now. I tried to have one of my teammates get a water bottle, but it doesn't look like they were able to succeed. That doesn't really matter too much just because the stage is about to end. So we're just gonna try and follow Pim Lichtart's wheel and see if we can't use his slipstream to get us a decent finish on this final stage. It's interesting that this race finished with 2 pretty short stages for the last 2 stages. The third one was in the 70s, and this 4th and final stage was, I think, 106 kilometers, so a little bit longer, but not particularly long as far as stage race length standards go. But I think it's been a pretty interesting race. I guess being right on the verge of completing it, the terrain didn't actually suit our rider build as well as I might have thought it was going to going into it. So our team wanted us to finish 3rd on GC. That's just not really realistic considering it was not quite as hilly, not as much climbing involved as there would need to be for a climber like Andy Schleck to do really well in a race like this. But we got 3 kilometers to go, kind of a late flurry of attacks and riders pacing hard at the front. We're still in a pretty good spot on Pim Lichtart's wheel inside of the final kilometer here. So we might be able to grab another top 10, I think. Rabbich is going to take the win. That was a nice move by him to go off the front and attack, and we will get 7th place. So that's solid. I'm happy with that. I think that's our best finish of the the 4 stages. Now the question is just, is it enough to move us into the top 10 on GC? And also, is it enough for us to hang on to the best young riders jersey? So let's jump ahead to the podiums and find out whether or not that is the case. I think it probably will be, but we won't know for sure until we see the podiums. So, stage winner, Stefan Rabic, like we saw. GC, we end up 6th. So I know it's not the top 3 that our team hoped for, but I would say that's very successful. And actually, unfortunately, the 3 riders right ahead of us were only a second ahead of us. So if we had been paying attention and grabbed that extra bonus second on that first sprint point, we might have actually finished 3rd and made our way onto the podium. So maybe our team's expectations weren't quite as unrealistic as I thought, but either way, I'm happy with that. Jumping up from 12th to 6th on the last stage is a pretty solid jump, I would say. We ended up 7th in the points classification, but we were quite a long way off from the leaders of that category, and we do indeed grab the young riders classification by 3 seconds over a couple different riders, so that those 3 seconds that we got at the sprint point made all the difference in terms of that classification. So definitely worth it. And let's see if any of our teammates did okay. Rikita ended up 16th on GC. That's not bad at all. He was probably the rider that was with us latest into stages. Jan Maas, also decent, 34th. And Arthur Clucker is also in the top 50. So good work by them too. And our team, not too happy with us, which was to be expected. We didn't get top 3 on GC or on the stage, so they weren't happy with either of those, but they did like that we won the young rider classification. So we grab an extra 11 points to take us up to 155. We're getting close to leveling up again, and being able to, I think, upgrade our potential is the plan for this next one. So just in terms of comparing our results to the real life Andy Schleck, because that was kind of the appeal of doing this race and this playthrough. So in the 4 road stages that Andy did in that race, all the way back in 2004, I think, there was an ITT when he did it. There was not when we did it. So the 4 road stages, he finished 7th, 9th, 23rd, and 4th. And we finished 10th, 27th, 10th, and 7th. On general classification, the real life Andy Schleck finished 7th, and our Andy Schleck 2.0 finished 6th. So when it's all said and done, we did indeed improve upon his results. So that's pretty cool. I wasn't sure it was going to happen when we were sitting on 12th place in the GC going into the final stage, but we managed to make it happen. So I think we can consider the circuit Ardennes International a big success based on that. That's kind of our first stage race top 10 as well. The only other stage race we did, we finished 30th, but we did win the best climbers classification. So we've done 2 stage races, finished in the top 10 once, and won a distinctive jersey in each one. So I think that's a pretty good start to our stage racing career so far. Alright, so now that we've wrapped up that stage race, that's going to be it for the racing today. Looking ahead, we have 5 just single day events in a row. I may plan on knocking out these 3 together in the next video, so then we can set up the video following that to end off with this race, which will be really our first chance to be at home as a climber in the mountains and really try and get a victory. I think this is a race that, obviously I don't know the start list and what teams will be present right now, but based on the fact that it's a 1.1 and the fact that we're a climber with 76 mountain rating, I think this should be an opportunity to be in the fight for a victory. So that would be exciting. I also anticipate probably reaching the next level, level 5, before this point, just because we do have 4 races in that span, and also the months change over, so we'll grab additional XP at that point. Like I said, I think the plan is probably to upgrade our stage racing potential to boost up the time trial rating. I think we decided that that was best now that we're at a 76 mountain rating, because that's a very solid level for Continental rider. I think the time has come to boost that potential so we can get a little bit better in terms of what our potential rating for a time trial would be. But overall, I'd say that our development is progressing nicely. I think at the start I wanted to make sure that I did upgrade that potential in our first 7 or so level ups, so we're on course to do that. I think our stats are at a point where we can get some decent results in races that suit us for the remainder of the season, and hopefully by doing so we can increase our stock in terms of contract negotiations and potentially try and get a contract with a pro continental team. I think probably a World Tour team won't happen this season, but I think there is still a chance for us to move up into the next division, into the pro continental race next season. So that will kind of be our focus going forward, just doing our best to get results and hopefully a couple victories in races like this one that suit us, and then in other races just making sure we're doing our best to pick up all the XP points that we can so we can continue improving. So thank you as always, everyone who's been watching and following along the series. I appreciate it. If you have been enjoying what you've seen, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and leave a like. I do appreciate all the support, and all that helps in terms of making more videos in the future and things like that, so thank you very much for that. Next time we'll probably be back with the Giro Rosa series, probably a stage or 2 of that before we do our next episode of Andy Schleck. I've been doing 2 stages of the Giro Rosa and then an episode of Andy Schleck, and I think that works pretty well. So stay tuned for that coming soon, and then eventually we will be back with this playthrough with episode 9. So thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.